Factor Theory Live. I'm Steve Crawford. Today we're finally going to talk about ghosts. I've been avoiding the subject for a long time, for good reason. I've had a lot of scary things happen in my life from a young age up. One of those things, they even got me in the water. We were in the water. We were in Niagara-on-the-Lake, here in Ontario, southern Ontario. I was about 4, maybe 5 years old. I remember my Aunt Brenda was there too. She was a few years older than my brother Rob, who's a few years older than I am. And we were playing in the water. And I got pulled under. Something grabbed a hold of me and pulled me under and held me there. The strange thing is, I remember clearly looking up and seeing my brother and my aunt laughing and joking around, thinking I was just playing. The really strange thing is, I wasn't struggling for breath. I seemed able to breathe. The thing that scared the shit out of me that happened was, I suddenly shot about 2 feet high off the water and landed on the beach. Unexplained, right? Now that term, let's go there. My show, Factor Theory Live, and the other show, Conspiracy Factor Theory, all of this stuff kind of gets lumped in. Conspiracy Factor Theory is going to end up eventually just being radio. And Factor Theory Live will be the video project. But I talk about UFOs, ghosts, the paranormal, the supernatural, the unexplained, because they are all essentially the same thing. They're all pieces of the same pie. I was just going to say part of the same puzzle. I'm going to sit here coming up with metaphors. But it is all tied in, and that's why I'm doing this shit now on this show. It's been a while. I think I told one ghost story once. And for those who haven't heard it, here's this one. When I was around 18, I was playing with a band. We were jamming in Welland, Ontario. And I had just moved with my brother and his then fiance, and their kids to Fonthill in Ontario. And we had a big, beautiful house. There was a buttload of us living there to be able to afford it, but it was beautiful. And 2 doors down from the end of the street was a cemetery. So I'm coming home one night. We're having, I guess they were having a housewarming party. And I was coming home. I walked home from Welland to Fonthill from band practice. And everybody was on acid. Everybody had dropped acid. They were drinking, smoking weed, doing all that fun stuff. And I start talking to my friend Matt. Matt is a huge black dude that would crush you with a glance. He makes 2 drops of pee come out every time he looks at me. And he starts staring behind me, and I turn around, and there is a spirit. Well, we didn't know he was a spirit at the time. He seemed as solid as I was, and as Matt was. But it was I guess you call him a Quaker. The black hat and the beard, pure white eyes, no irises. Or sorry, no irises. Looks at us. As soon as we acknowledge him, or as soon as I acknowledged him, he started walking away, but still staring at us. So he's walking backwards. Now directly behind him was a pine tree, a big one. He went through this pine tree. My friend and I looked at each other. Matt was pure white. He was about as white as I am at that moment. And we run around the tree, and there's the guy still walking backwards, turns his head to look at us. Now, by this time, all the neighbors are outside or in their windows going, what the fuck's going on? The new neighbors are assholes. But they saw this guy. They all saw it. The police wound up coming. There was a report made that, yes, there was this old man with a black suit and a black hat that vanished right behind a car. I'm going to show a couple of little videos now, and then I'm going to tell you another story that happened at that same house, because yeah, there was a cemetery at the end of the street. So we had a lot of things happen in that place. 5. That's how many drops of pee came out. You may have noticed I'm wearing a different shirt. I spit coffee all over myself, had to change my clothes. When those papers flew up in the air at the second time, caught me totally unaware as I was taking a sip of coffee. Here's another one. Ghost story, that is. Now, in the same house I was talking about in Fonthill, I slept in the basement, which was the rec room, and it had a wood-burning stove in it, and we kept the wood a couple of feet away from it, 3 or 4 feet away from it, and I slept. Now, it was up against the basement wall, and then there would be a window up here, and I slept on the fold-out couch down below the window, but with my head at the other end, so I'd be looking at that window. Reading a book, got really tired, decided to go to sleep. Distinctly remember putting my book down on, like rolling over and kind of dropping my book down on the floor. And like I said, the wood-burning stove was at least 3 to 4 feet away. I woke up about an hour later, maybe, and the room was full of smoke. I was choking. Everybody in the house started freaking out. My brother dragged me out of there. We called the fire department. They came down, and they saw that my book, they said the cause of it all was my book. And we said, how could that happen? I dropped it on the floor. And they said, well, this book was sitting right on top of the wood-burning stove, and there was a little slit at the top. And they were still kind of perplexed as to how a flame, because the flame was pretty low, and it was like embers, right? You know, just going down to ash. And they were perplexed how all of a sudden it jumped up and lit the book on fire. So lucky, it was just a book, right? So, okay, they cleared the smoke of the room. My brother's then fiance tries to stop me from going downstairs. She goes, what are you doing? And I'm going back to sleep. She goes, what are you, fucking nuts? And even my brother's like, dude, you can't go back down there. I was like, fuck, guys, I must have thrown the book and not realized it. And just walked down the stairs. I go back to sleep. Once again, I decide, well, the box was 3 to 4 feet away, the box of wood. I decided I don't want to take any chances. And I took the box and moved it across the other side of the room, which had to be diagonal, because I put it in the corner of the room on the other side of the room, which would have been diagonally about a 6-pace, good pace walk for a guy that's like 5'8". Okay, I'm 5'7.5", but anyway. Go to sleep. Wake up again, choking. Fire department's back. I get dragged out of the room. My brother didn't go back to sleep. Lucky for me, he's paranoid too. He smelt the smoke right away, got me out of there. This time, the fire department was really perplexed because what caught on fire was the box of wood. A piece of wood inside the... And tried to say, oh, something must have jumped out. What? But no, it was 4 feet, 3 to 4 feet away from a iron black wood-burning stove. And it was embers. So you tell me, what the hell happened there? I think something wants me dead. Well, I know somebody wants me dead, but I think something that I can't see wants me dead. Here's another one.
The following program deals with a controversial subject. The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretation. The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information.
In the quest for evidence, 2 researchers from UCLA got more than they bargained for. Kerry Gaynor and Dr. Barry Taff were witness to one of the most celebrated cases in ghost hunting history, the Entity case. It was later popularized in a book and a film called The Entity. But what the real investigators found when they met the victim of the haunting was more bizarre and more compelling than any movie.
When I went over to her house, we conducted about a 2-hour interview, and during that time, she told us a lot of interesting experiences, but I knew she was holding something back. And at the end of the interview, she finally admitted to us that she was attacked and raped by the ghost. At that time, we thought she was probably crazy.
The events that then transpired over the next 10 weeks were chronicled in the Journal of the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, including the night the investigators went from being skeptics to true believers.
The lady screamed out, "It's in my bedroom." We ran in there. She shouted out, "It's over in the corner." We fired our Polaroid camera in the direction that she said. We didn't see anything, but the picture came out bleached out white completely. She shouted out again, "It's in the corner." Again, we fired our camera, and it was bleached out completely. At that point, I thought the camera was just malfunctioning. I waited till she said it was gone, and I took 2 control pictures. Those pictures are perfectly normal pictures. The only difference, she said it was in the corner in the first ones, and in these, she said it was gone. A few moments later, we felt a cold breeze of air coming through the door, accompanied by a horrible stench, a stench so foul, some people were vomiting. We fired the camera in the direction that breeze was flowing towards us, and again, the picture was bleached out completely, except at the bottom of the doorway, you can see a little round ball of light. A few minutes later, she screamed out, "It's right in front of my face." We fired the camera, and the face was completely obliterated. But you can see the curtains behind her, you can see her dress. She shouted out again, "It's right in front of my face." Again, the face is completely obliterated. Now, those were her exact words, "It's right in front of my face." Once again, I wanted a control picture. I waited till she said it was gone, and I took the final picture. And this is a perfect, normal picture. It's just dark because we didn't adjust the setting. There's a scratch on it, which we put on it when we tried to clean it a little bit. But otherwise, it's a normal picture. The only difference between these two, in one, she said it was in front of my face. In the other one, she said it was gone.
Even with these pictures, Gaynor still had trouble convincing his colleagues at UCLA that he was on to something significant.
Initially, they would say, "Well, you're hallucinating." So then I would look at them and say, "Well, we've got 20 witnesses." And they would say, "Well, then it's obviously mass hallucination."
Gaynor returned to the house a number of times, bringing more witnesses with him, and the eerie phenomenon became even more pronounced.
We started seeing balls of light lighting up the walls, and everybody in the room would see this. And the lights would get bigger and bigger and brighter and brighter. And at some point, I finally started talking to it. And I said, "Well, if you're really here, come off the wall," because what I was concerned was that somebody in the room was faking it, and they were projecting the light onto the wall. Well, when I asked that question, the light lifted off the wall, floated into the middle of our room, started spinning and twisting and expanding in different directions simultaneously. It had full parallax. We could see it from all sides, and I had 9 professional photographers set up in the room that were shooting it from all sides.
The lights came in, it was like, it almost come in like in a state of anger. It almost came in, all right, here I am, this is me. And it came in, it kind of did a little thing in the group, and then it was gone.
It was the most extraordinary thing we've ever come across. It happened over and over again. We experienced a plethora of phenomena during that investigation.
The part that interested me the most was the fact that what we saw, we were able to get on film.
The photographers at that session had only limited success capturing the entity on film, with one notable exception.
What we see here are reverse arcs of light. One arc goes right here, another arc goes right here. Now, the reason this picture is so important to us is that the arc on the wall, if it were really on the wall, would be bent, because those 2 walls there are perpendicular. It's not bent, which means the arc is floating in space. The significance of that for us as researchers is, of course, that means it's dimensional and very, very difficult to fake. This was not somebody with a flashlight shining it on a wall. That light is in empty space.
The negative of this photo was authenticated by Popular Photography and was the only alleged ghost photo ever published in the magazine. Frank DeFelitta, the author of Audrey Rose, was also witness to the phenomena. His incredible first-hand experience in the Culver City, California house inspired him to write The Entity, which was later made into a motion picture.
All the instruments started clicking away. So I knew everyone was seeing this at the same time that I was. And we were ducking, and everyone was saying, oh my God, look at that, oh my God. And then Doris started screaming. That was the woman who was being belabored by this creature. Started screaming, "I don't want to see your lights, show us yourself. Damn you, show us yourself." She started cursing and swearing at it. And there, lo and behold, at that point, it started to appear. It sort of developed a kind of, it was a kind of arm was articulated. You could see sort of like an arm, and then a neck. And then of all things, a kind of bald head. Now, this could have been our imagination, but collectively, we saw the same thing, every one of us. We saw the same thing.
But we don't consider our pictures proof of anything. We consider them part of the struggle to gather evidence to try to understand this phenomenon. During our investigations, we spend thousands of hours trying to be in the right place at the right time. In the Entity case, for some reason, we were there. We were there at the right time. And we were experiencing the phenomena over and over again. Although some of the people there found it frightening, I found it very exciting and exhilarating. That's what I'm in this for. It's an opportunity to witness things that we've been taught all our life cannot be. It's a connection with the unknown.
Traditionally, a haunting is associated with a place, but investigators in the Entity case always suspected that this haunting was somehow connected to the woman herself. And in fact, when she fled the house, the Entity went with her. For 5 years, the haunting diminished gradually and has now completely disappeared.